Good evening, my little creatures of the night. Mr. Wendigo back again with your late night creature feature. Before we begin, I'm curious. Where are you listening from tonight? Alone in your room? Driving through empty roads? Drop a comment and let me know. I like knowing who's out there in the dark with me. Now then, let's see what tonight's tale brings us. Maintenance log, Turbine 47, a Rio Hondo wind farm story. They told me the Rio Hondo wind farm was the biggest in Texas. They weren't lying. Stand anywhere out there and you can see turbines in every direction, thousands of them, stretching to the horizon like a forest made of steel. At night, the red aviation lights blink out of sync, creating this strobing effect that messes with your depth perception, makes it hard to tell if something's 50 feet away or 500. I guess that's what made it worse. When you can't trust your eyes, you start trusting your gut, and my gut had been screaming at me all day. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This one felt wrong before we even loaded the trucks. February 2018. Cold enough at night that you needed a jacket, but the days were still decent. I'd been working the wind farm with my brother Daniel for 2 years by then. Emergency maintenance, mostly. The kind of repairs that couldn't wait and paid double because somebody had to be available 24/7. We needed the money. Mom was dying. Stage 4 lung cancer. The insurance covered some of it. The treatments, the hospital stays, the medications that cost more than our rent, but not all of it. Never all of it. Experimental treatments weren't covered. Pain management wasn't covered. The good hospice care wasn't covered, so Daniel and I worked every shift we could get. Took all the overtime, climbed towers while other techs were home with their families. Daniel was 3 years older than me, had a wife, Maria, and 2 kids. Emma was 7, Jake was 4. Good kids. Daniel showed me pictures every day, proud as hell. Emma had just lost her first tooth. Jake had learned to ride a bike without training wheels. Normal kid stuff that felt a million miles away when you were standing in the middle of a wind farm, 300 feet up, wind howling so loud you couldn't think. He used to joke that he was paying for 2 dying women, Mom and his truck. Thing had 200,000 miles on it and leaked oil like a sieve, but he loved that piece of shit, called it character. I called it rust and broken dreams. We'd argue about it while driving between turbines, and I give him shit about the duct tape holding the passenger mirror on. That's redneck engineering. He patted the dashboard like it was a horse. That's a safety violation. You gonna report me to OSHA? Nah, I'll just let the mirror fall off and you can replace it yourself. Fuck you. Love you too. That's how we talked. How brothers talk when they're doing a shitty job to pay for their dying mother's medical bills. You joke because if you don't joke, you think too hard about why you're there. Ray, you ever notice how these turbines look like they're bowing? Daniel's voice came over the radio that afternoon. We were doing routine maintenance on the southern sector. I was at 39, he was at 42, like they're praying or some shit. You're losing it, man. I'm serious. Look at them. They all tilt the same direction. That's called wind genius. They track the wind. Yeah, but doesn't it look creepy? Like they're all looking at something? I glanced around. He had a point. The turbines did have this synchronized quality, all facing northwest. Nacelles tilted at the same angle. Thousands of them, all watching the same empty horizon. You've been out here too long. I tightened the last bolt on my sensor housing. Start seeing faces in the clouds next. Fuck you. He laughed. I'm just saying, place is different today. Place is always different. It's a wind farm, giant metal towers in the middle of nowhere. Of course it's different. Yeah, maybe. You feel it though? I did. I just didn't want to admit it. There was this pressure in the air, like before a storm, except the sky was clear, blue and empty and wrong in a way I couldn't name. Just finish your sensor check. We got 4 more turbines before we can call it. Copy that. The radio went quiet. just wind noise and the distant whump, whump, whump of turbine blades cutting air. I finished the housing, wiped the grease from my hands, and checked my phone. Dispatch. Turbine 47 light malfunction. Need immediate repair. I stared at the message. 47. Again. That tower had been nothing but problems since we started working the farm. Light malfunctions, generator issues, gearbox failures. Every month, something broke. Every month, someone had to climb it. I'd heard the stories. Every tech who worked Rio Hondo had. 3 deaths since the farm went operational. All falls, all ruled accidental. Equipment failure, human error, the usual excuses. But the older techs, the ones who'd been there from the beginning, they told other stories. About climbing that tower and losing time. About reaching the top and finding tools they'd left at the bottom. About hearing voices inside the column that sounded like people they knew. Corporate dismissed it, heat exhaustion, altitude sickness, stress. But the stories persisted. I keyed the radio. Daniel, got a call for 47. Aviation lights out again. Again? That's the 3rd time this month. Yeah, I'll take it. You almost done? Give me 20 minutes. I'll meet you there. Copy. I loaded my tools into the truck and started driving. The access roads between turbines were just packed caliche, white and dusty, crisscrossing the farm like veins. Every 100 yards, another tower. Every tower identical, white cylindrical base, 3 blades, red light on top. It was hypnotic, driving through thousands of identical structures, like being inside a machine that had no beginning and no end. I'd heard the history of the Rio Hondo farm. 25 people died during construction between 2009 and 2012. Falls, mostly. Equipment failures. One guy got hit by a blade during installation. Wind kicked up unexpectedly. Blade swung around, took his head clean off. OSHA fined the company $50,000. The foreman got fired. They installed new safety protocols. Kept building. The wind farm went operational in 2012. 6 years of turbines spinning, generating power, making money. And in those 6 years, another dozen workers died. More falls. More equipment failures. More accidents that resulted in closed investigations and sealed reports. Daniel and I used to joke about it. Gallows humor. The kind of shit you say when you're 200 feet up and trying not to think about the drop. You think they pay extra for haunted turbines? Probably. Danger pay. Nah, that's ghost pay. Different union. Ghost union. Local 477. Meeting every full moon. Mandatory seances instead of safety briefings. OSHA violation if your EMF detector isn't calibrated. We'd laugh, because what else could you do? The job was dangerous. We knew that. 50 techs working the farm, and every one of us had close calls, dropped tools, slipped harnesses, wind gusts that nearly knocked you sideways on platforms. You learned to accept it, or you found another job. But 47 was different. Even the veterans avoided it when they could, traded shifts, called in sick, anything to not climb that particular tower. I reached it around 2 in the afternoon, parked my truck at the base, grabbed my gear. The tower looked the same as every other one. White paint weathered and chipped, access door at ground level, ladder inside leading up 300 feet to the nacelle where the machinery lived. The aviation light at the top was dark, should have been blinking red, wasn't. I walked around the base, checked the ground, no debris, no signs of damage. Just the tower standing there, blades turning slowly in the wind, making that low whump 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 sound that you felt in your chest more than heard with your ears. Then I saw it. Between 47 and 48, maybe 100 yards away, something moved. Just a flicker, a shape. I stopped, stared. Nothing there. I shook my head, probably just heat shimmer, light playing tricks. The caliche roads reflected heat like mirrors, made the air ripple and bend. I turned back to my truck. The shape was behind 46 now, on the other side, 100 yards in the opposite direction. I froze. It had moved, or I'd imagined it, or something. I pulled out my binoculars, glassed the area around 46. Nothing, just white tower, spinning blades, empty ground. I lowered the binoculars. The shape was between 47 and 49 now. Closer, maybe 50 yards. Tall, too tall. Narrow, like someone standing sideways behind the column, just the edge of them visible. I raised the binoculars again. Nothing. Lowered them. The shape was gone. I stood there, heart pounding, scanning the farm. Thousands of towers in every direction, all identical, all slowly turning. Red lights blinking at different intervals, creating this chaotic strobe across the entire landscape. My radio crackled. "Ray, you at 47 yet?" I jumped, keyed the mic with shaking hands. "Yeah, just got here." "You see anything weird?" "Like what?" "I don't know. Just something. Like we're being watched." I looked around again. Nothing. Just towers and sky and empty land stretching forever. "It's the farm. Always like that out here." "Yeah, maybe." Daniel didn't sound convinced. "I'm finishing up at 45. Be there in 5. "Copy." I kept staring at the space between towers, waiting for the shape to come back. It didn't. Probably nothing. Heat shimmer, exhaustion, stress. I grabbed my gear and approached the access door. That's when I noticed the handprints. On the white paint of the tower base, pressed into the surface like someone had leaned against it. But these weren't normal handprints. They were too big. Fingers spread impossibly wide. And there were too many of them, overlapping, covering a 6-foot section of the base in a chaotic pattern. I reached out to touch one. The paint was warm, warmer than the afternoon sun would make it. I pulled my hand back. "Daniel, you seeing this?" "Seeing what?" "Handprints, all over the base." "From what?" "I don't know, but they're big, bigger than mine. Probably from construction. Those have been there for years." I looked closer. The paint wasn't weathered. These prints were fresh. "I don't think so." "Ray, you're freaking yourself out. Just climb the tower and fix the light. I'll be there in 2 minutes." I stared at the handprints, at the access door, at the ladder waiting inside. Every instinct told me not to go in, not to climb, not today. But we needed the money. Mom needed the money, and it was just a light. 12 minutes up, 5 minutes to fix it, 12 minutes down, 30 minutes total. I opened the access door. The interior was dark, cool, smelled like oil and metal and something else, something sweet, almost floral, like flowers left too long in a vase, not a smell that belonged inside a wind turbine. The ladder stretched up into shadows, rungs bolted directly into the tower wall, 300 feet, about 12 minutes at a steady pace. I clipped my safety harness to the ladder rail and started up. Climbing a wind turbine is meditative, repetitive, hand, foot, hand, foot. The sound of your own breathing echoing in the hollow tube, the vibration of the blades turning far above you. Every 20 feet, a small platform where you could rest. I didn't. I was in good shape. 2 years of climbing had made my legs strong and my grip solid. But about 30 feet up, the tower changed. The vibration got slower, irregular, like the blades were turning at a speed that didn't match the wind, and the sound shifted from the steady whump 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 to a groan, metal on metal, grinding. I stopped at a platform, caught my breath. The sweet smell was stronger here, almost overpowering. I pulled out my phone. 2:37, 7 minutes into the climb, right on schedule. I keyed the radio. Hey, Daniel, you getting weird vibrations from your tower? Static. Then, like what? The rotation sounds irregular. Mine sounds fine. You're probably just spooked from all my praying turbine talk. Yeah, probably. But I wasn't. Something wasn't right. I could feel it in the way the tower hummed around me, in the way the air pressure shifted with each rung I climbed. I kept going, hand, foot, 50 feet, 75, 100. The temperature changed around 80 feet, got colder, not the natural cold of altitude, but something else, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones and makes your teeth ache. My breath started fogging even though it was 70 degrees outside. The grinding noise got louder, and underneath it, I started hearing voices, faint, distant, multiple voices overlapping, like people having a conversation just out of range. I pressed my ear against the tower wall. The metal was vibrating, not from the blades, from something deeper, a pulse, slow and steady and impossible for a steel structure. The voices got clearer. I could almost make out words, almost. Then one voice separated from the others, a woman's voice, young, familiar somehow. Ray, Ray, can you hear me? I jerked back from the wall. That was my name. Someone had said my name. Hello? I called out. No response, just the grinding and the distant murmur. I waited. 30 seconds. A minute. Nothing. I shook my head. Acoustic tricks. Wind noise. The tower playing games with sound. I keyed the radio. Daniel, you hearing voices? Long pause. What? Voices. Inside the tower. Ray, there's nobody in the tower but you. I know that, but I'm hearing them. It's echo, wind noise bouncing around. These towers do weird shit with sound. I listened again. The voices were clearer now. I couldn't make out words, but I could hear the cadence, the rhythm. Yeah, maybe. I kept climbing, 150, 200, halfway. Then one voice came through clearly, the woman again, scared. Help us. I froze. Daniel, did you say something? No. Why? I just heard someone say, help us. Ray, you're alone in there. There's nobody. I know there's nobody, but I fucking heard it. Silence. Then, you want me to come up? I did. I wanted Daniel to climb up, wanted to not be alone in this tower that smelled like rotting flowers and echoed with voices that shouldn't exist. But I was already halfway, and turning around meant admitting I was scared, admitting the stories about 47 were getting to me. No, I'm good. Almost to the top. You sure? Yeah. Just finish your sensor check. I'll be down in 20. Copy. But Ray, if something doesn't sit right, just come down. Light can wait. Copy. I kept climbing. 225, 250, 275. The voices faded. The grinding faded. By the time I reached the top platform, the tower sounded normal again. Just vibration and wind noise, and the steady rotation of the blades. I pushed open the hatch to the exterior platform. The wind hit me immediately. Strong, steady, cold, 300 feet up. The wind never stops. Just this relentless pressure pushing against you, trying to shove you sideways. The platform was maybe 6 by 6 feet, metal grating with a safety rail. The nacelle sat in the center, massive and humming, and on top of it, the aviation light, dark, dead. I clipped my harness to the safety rail and got to work, pulled out my tools, removed the light housing. The bulb inside was shattered, glass everywhere. I swept it out, careful not to cut my gloves, and pulled a replacement from my belt. That's when I checked my watch. 6:32. I stared at it, blinked, looked again. 6:32 p.m. That couldn't be right. I'd started the climb at 2:30, 12-minute climb, should be 2:45 at the latest, 3 o'clock if I'd taken my time. But my watch read 6:32. I looked at the horizon. The sun was setting. Not high in the sky where it should be at 3 in the afternoon, setting, orange and red, sinking toward the flat Texas horizon, casting long shadows across thousands of turbines stretching in every direction. My stomach dropped. I keyed the radio. "Daniel, what time you got?" Static, long pause. Then, "What? It's like 3 o'clock. Why?" Check again. Look at your phone. Another pause. 3:15. "You good?" I looked at my watch. 6:34 now. Looked at the sun, definitely setting. "Ray?" Daniel's voice crackled. "You there?" Yeah, I'm here. Time just... My watch says 6:30, but you're telling me 3:15. That doesn't make sense. Your watch is broken. I'm looking at the sun, Daniel. It's setting. Silence. Then, "That's not possible. It's mid-afternoon. I know it's not possible, but I'm looking at it right now. You need me to come up?" "No, just stay on the ground. I'm going to finish the light and come down." "Ray, I'm fine. Just stay there." I tried to focus, screwed in the new bulb, tested it. The red light blinked alive, working. I replaced the housing, tightened the screws. The whole time, I kept glancing at the horizon. The sun kept sinking, shadows getting longer, temperature dropping the way it does at dusk. But Daniel's watch read 3:15. His world was still afternoon. I finished, clipped my tools back to my belt. Time to climb down, get out of this tower and never come back. I moved to the hatch, unclipped from the safety rail, and looked down into the tower. The ladder was gone. Not broken, not bent, not collapsed. Just gone. Where the ladder should have been, rungs bolted every 18 inches down the interior wall, there was nothing, just smooth metal. The tower's interior was a hollow cylinder stretching down into darkness. No ladder, no platforms, no way down. I stared. My brain couldn't process it. That ladder had been there when I climbed up, solid steel bolted into the wall. It couldn't just disappear. I pulled out my flashlight, shined it down. Nothing. Just smooth wall all the way to the bottom, 300 feet of empty space. I keyed the radio, hands shaking. Daniel, you there?" "Yeah, what's up?" "I need you to get over here. Now." "What happened?" "The ladder's gone." Silence. Then, "What do you mean gone?" "Gone. Not here. There's no ladder." "Ray, that doesn't make sense. You climbed up it." "I know I fucking climbed up it, and now it's not here." Okay, stay calm. I'm coming." I waited, kept staring down, shined my flashlight at different angles, thinking maybe I was disoriented, maybe the ladder was there and I couldn't see it in the shadows. But no, the tower was empty. Smooth walls, no rungs, no platforms, nothing. I checked my watch, 6:53. Checked my phone, 3:22. 2 different times, 2 different realities. Daniel's voice crackled. "Ray, I'm at the base, looking up at you." I moved to the edge of the platform, looked down. Daniel was 300 feet below, standing next to my truck, looking up. I could see him clearly in the light that was fading for me and full afternoon for him. "You see me?" "Yeah, I see you." "What do you mean the ladder's gone?" "I can see it from here." "What?" "The ladder, it's right there, all the way up." I looked down into the hatch again. Nothing. Empty tower. "Daniel, I'm looking at it right now. There's no ladder." "Ray, I'm looking from the bottom. The ladder's there. I can see every rung." A sick feeling crawled up my spine. "Check your phone again. What time is it?" 3:25. Why do you keep asking about time? Mine says 7 p.m. Long pause. That's not possible. I know. Ray, something's really wrong. Get down here. I can't. There's no fucking ladder. I'm coming up. Daniel, don't. But he'd already gone inside. I could hear his voice echoing up through the hollow tower, distorted and strange. I'm on the ladder now, starting to climb. Be careful. It's fine. Ladder's solid. I don't know what you're seeing up there, but it's here. I waited, counted the minutes, heard his breathing over the radio, heavy and rhythmic, the sound of boots on metal rungs echoing up through the empty space that somehow wasn't empty for him. Then he stopped. Ray, this is weird. What? I'm like halfway up and I don't know. The tower sounds different. Vibrations changed. Come back down, please. No, I'm good. Just hold on. More climbing sounds. His breathing getting heavier. I keep hearing things. What kind of things? Voices. Like people talking. You hear that when you climbed? Yeah. What the fuck is this place? I don't know. Just get up here so we can figure out how to get down. I'm trying, but the ladder. Fuck. What? Daniel, what is it? I just looked at my phone. It was 3:30 like 2 seconds ago. Now it says 6:15. My blood went cold. Get down. Right now. Yeah. I'm turning around. I heard him moving. Faster now. Boots clanging on rungs. His breathing harsh over the radio. Panic creeping into his voice. This doesn't make sense. Time doesn't just jump. Watches don't just... Fuck. What? The ladder. It's changing. The rungs are spaced wrong. Irregular. Like someone rearranged them. Daniel, climb down as fast as you can. I'm trying. A scrape. Metal on metal. Loud and sharp. Echoing up through the tower. Daniel? No answer. Daniel? You there? Static. Wind noise. Then a sound like creaking. Metal groaning under stress. Daniel. A scream. Short. Sharp. Cut in half. The kind of scream that comes when you realize you're falling and there's nothing left to grab. Then an impact. A wet, heavy sound that echoed up through the hollow tower and turned my stomach inside out. Then silence. Daniel? Daniel. Nothing. Just static and wind. I ran to the edge of the platform, looked down. At the base, 300 feet below, I could see something. A shape. Dark against the white caliche ground. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands, zoomed in with the camera. It was Daniel, lying in a spreading pool of darkness, not moving, arms and legs bent at angles that don't happen to living people, like he'd fallen from the top of the tower. But he'd been climbing down. He'd been inside the tower, on the ladder that I couldn't see but he swore was there. How had he fallen from outside? I tried the radio. Daniel, please, answer me. Nothing. I called 911, hands shaking so bad I could barely hold the phone. 911, what's your emergency? My brother fell. Rio Hondo wind farm, Turbine 47. He fell from. I don't know how high. He fell. Send someone, please. Is he conscious? I looked down at the shape 300 feet below, the pool of darkness spreading around him. No, he's not moving. Help is on the way. Stay where you are. I can't move. I'm stuck at the top. The ladder's gone. You're stuck? 300 feet. The interior ladder is not present. I can't get down. Emergency services are en route. Stay on the line. I couldn't. I hung up. Dropped to my knees on the platform, stared down at my brother's body surrounded by thousands of turbines stretching in every direction, their red lights starting to blink in the growing darkness. The sun had set, fully set. Stars were coming out, But Daniel had said it was 3:30. His world was still afternoon. His reality still had a ladder and a working clock and a brother who was fine. Two different realities. One of them had killed him. I checked the emergency equipment locker bolted to the nacelle. Standard gear, first aid kit, emergency radio, flare gun, 50 feet of rope with a harness. 50 feet. I was 300 up. The rope was useless. I pulled out the emergency radio, turned it on, keyed the mic. This is Ray Dunlap, maintenance tech. I have an emergency at 47. My partner is down. I'm trapped at the top. The interior ladder is not present, requesting immediate assistance. Static. I tried again. Does anyone copy? More static. Then, cutting through it, a voice, faint, distorted, but I knew it immediately. Ray, can you hear me? Daniel's voice. I nearly dropped the radio. Daniel? Ray, where are you? I can't find you. I'm at the top. Daniel, you fell. I saw you fall. What? No, I'm still climbing. But the ladder's wrong. The numbers don't make sense. I'm at platform 47M. That's not a real designation. 47M. We didn't label platforms with letters. Daniel, you need to get out. Get out of the tower. Now. I'm trying, but every platform I reach, there's more ladder going up. I've been climbing for hours. What time is it? My watch says 11 p.m. But that doesn't make sense. It was 3:30 when I started. Daniel, listen to me. Don't trust the ladders. Don't trust the platforms. Find an exit. Any exit. I'm trying. But Ray, I keep seeing things. Other people. They're climbing too. They look scared. Where are you right now? I don't know. Platform 47 something. The number keeps changing. It was M, now it's Q. That's not even a real. His voice broke. Ray, I'm scared. Stay calm. Keep climbing. Find daylight. Find an exit. I see one. There's a hatch. It's glowing, like dawn light. Go to it. Get out. I'm trying, but it keeps moving. I get close and it's farther away, like the tower is stretching. Daniel. Static. The voice cut out. Daniel? Daniel, are you there? Nothing. Just static and wind and my own breathing harsh in my ears. I sat on the platform. Daniel was still climbing, or had been climbing, or was climbing in a different time, a different version of the tower that existed alongside this one. He'd seen other people. The techs who died, were they all still climbing? All trapped in an infinite tower searching for an exit they'd never find? My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. He's still falling. I looked down. Daniel's body was there, then gone, then there again, flickering, like reality couldn't decide if the fall had happened yet. Another buzz. You're stuck in the same loop. Choose differently. Choose what? I typed back. The right ladder. The one that leads to ground. Not all of them do. Which one? You'll know when you see it. I walked to the edge of the platform, looked out at the wind farm. Thousands of towers in every direction, all turning, all blinking red. But now, in the darkness, I could see something else. Between the towers, moving, multiple shapes, tall, wrong in a way that had nothing to do with size and everything to do with proportion. They moved from turbine to turbine like chess pieces on a board that only they could see, using the towers as markers in some geometry I didn't understand. Each one crossed the distance between columns in a single movement that shouldn't have been physically possible. 100 feet in one stride, 200 feet in the next. Like the ground between the towers was shorter for them than it was for us. I counted 5, maybe 6. Hard to tell because they kept overlapping with the tower silhouettes, blending into the cylindrical shapes. becoming indistinguishable from the structures for seconds at a time before separating and moving to the next one. One of them was close, maybe 2 towers away. I pulled out my binoculars, glassed it. Tall, maybe 8 feet, proportions warped, arms too long, legs bent backward at joints that shouldn't exist, skin pale, smooth, featureless except for the mouth. The mouth that split the face from ear to ear when it opened, rows of teeth that looked like they'd been sharpened on stone. It turned, looked directly at me across the distance. I lowered the binoculars. It was gone. No, not gone. Closer, 1 tower away now. I looked through the binoculars again, back at its original position. Lowered them, at the neighboring tower again. It moved when I wasn't looking directly at it, when I looked through glass, when I blinked. Distance wasn't fixed. Space could collapse between one heartbeat and the next. I backed away from the edge, pressed against the nacelle. The red lights kept blinking, all of them, out of sync, creating patterns in the darkness that looked almost deliberate, almost like language. And in those patterns I started to understand. The thing that had taken Daniel, the thing that had been collecting texts for years, it wasn't hiding in the towers. It was the towers, or part of them, or something that existed in the vertical spaces we created, using our architecture as a framework to manifest in our world, something that lived in height the way fish live in water. We'd been building in its territory for years, pouring concrete foundations into its floor, bolting steel ladders into its walls, running wires through its body, and it had been patient about it. Curious, maybe, watching these small creatures climb up into its space and then climb back down again, learning our patterns, understanding that some of us came alone, that some of us could be taken without anyone noticing until the body was found at the bottom and the report said equipment failure. We'd built a forest of steel reaching 300 feet into the sky. We created thousands of identical structures. We'd made it easy for something that thought in vertical dimensions to find us, to hunt us, to collect us. The hatch at my feet opened. I looked down. The ladder was back, rungs stretching into darkness, but below that, another platform, and another ladder going up, and another platform. Towers stacked on top of towers, extending forever in both directions. My phone buzzed. Find the right one. I picked the ladder going down, started climbing, counted the rungs. 50, 100, got to a platform. The number stenciled on the wall read 47A, not a real designation. Kept going, down and down, 50 more rungs, 100, 200. Should be at ground level by now, should be feeling the temperature warm up, but it kept getting colder. Another platform, 47B. Looked down through the grating. More ladder disappearing into darkness my flashlight couldn't reach. I found another hatch, climbed through. This ladder spiraled, curved around the tower interior in a helix that made my head spin. I climbed it for what felt like hours, round and round, passing platform after platform, some empty, some with people frozen mid-climb, hands on rungs, feet on rungs, bodies locked in position like someone had pressed pause on a video and walked away. Some with things that weren't people but were shaped close enough to make my eyes hurt trying to understand the difference. They had the right number of arms and legs, but the joints were in the wrong places, and they turned to watch me pass with faces that had all the right features arranged in an order that made my brain itch. The temperature kept changing. Cold on one platform, warm on the next. One platform smelled like diesel and grease, normal tower smell. The next smelled like cut grass and rain, which was impossible 300 feet up in a steel cylinder. The one after that smelled like nothing at all, like the air itself had been removed and replaced with something that performed the function of air without actually being it. One platform had other techs, 3 of them, 2 men and a woman, all in harnesses, all staring at different ladders, none of them moving. I walked closer. One of the men was maybe 60, name tag, Miguel. The other was younger, maybe 30. Name tag, Corey. The woman was middle-aged. Name tag, Sarah. I'd seen those names before, in the incident reports. Miguel Ortega died 2013. Corey Vance died 2015. Sarah Mitchell died 2014. All falls, all Turbine 47. But here they were, standing on a platform that shouldn't exist. I reached out to touch Sarah's shoulder. My hand passed through, not like a ghost, like we were existing in slightly different moments. Her platform was 2 seconds ahead of mine or 3 seconds behind, and we were occupying the same space but never the same instant. She turned, looked right at me, her mouth opened, silent scream, face contorting in terror, then she was gone, blinked out like a light. Miguel and Corey remained, still staring, still not moving. I backed away, found another hatch, climbed through. One platform had a version of me, my exact clothes, my exact harness, my exact face. He was sitting on the platform with his back against the wall, legs stretched out, flashlight in his lap. He looked tired, looked like he'd been sitting there for a long time. He turned as I approached, smiled, not a friendly smile, the smile of someone who already knows how this ends. "You're not going to make it." His voice was mine, exactly mine. Same pitch, same cadence, same slight Texas drawl I'd never been able to shake. "You're still climbing. You'll always be climbing. There is no ground level. There's no exit hatch that leads to real dirt. There's just more tower, more ladders, more platforms, forever. You're not me. No, I'm what you become if you stop. If you sit down and give up and let the tower have you." He gestured at the wall behind him. Scratched into the metal, in handwriting I recognized as my own, were hundreds of tally marks. Thousands. I've been counting. Lost track around 15,000. That was a while ago. I ran past him, found the next ladder, climbed faster. Behind me I heard him laugh. My laugh. The laugh Daniel and I used to share when one of us said something stupid. Hearing it come from that thing on the platform was worse than anything else I'd seen in the tower. More platforms, more impossible geometry. A platform where gravity reversed and I had to climb what should have been the ceiling, pulling myself along rungs that were now above me while my tools hung upward from my belt and my blood rushed to my head. A platform that was perfectly normal except it had 2 suns visible through a hatch that opened onto sky that wasn't Texas. The light coming through was orange and thick, like sunset filtered through smoke, and the horizon line was wrong, too close, like the world outside that hatch was smaller than ours. A platform made entirely of rust, flaking away under my boots, disintegrating into red dust that fell upward. I could feel the metal softening beneath me, could feel the structure dissolving, and I climbed through the next hatch so fast I left skin on the rim. One platform was dark, completely dark. No flashlight beam could penetrate it. I could feel the rungs under my hands but couldn't see them, couldn't see my own fingers, couldn't see anything except a faint red pulse far below that blinked in a rhythm I recognized. On, off, on, off. The aviation light, but it was below me, which meant I was above the top of the tower, which wasn't possible. None of this was possible. I climbed until my arms burned, until my legs shook, until I couldn't remember who I'd been before I started. Then I saw it. Real light. Not red blinking. Gray light. Dawn light filtering down through a hatch above me. I climbed toward it. Faster now. Hand over hand. Legs burning. Lungs burning. Climbing toward the light that meant morning. Meant real. Meant out. Reached a platform. The hatch was open. Sky visible through it. Real sky. Morning sky with clouds and color. I climbed through. I was on the ground. Just on the ground, standing next to the tower. The hatch I'd climbed through was the access door at the base, like I'd walked out normally, like I'd never climbed at all. My truck was parked 20 feet away, Daniel's truck next to it. The sun was rising, pink and orange, real sunrise. The wind was blowing. The turbines were spinning. Normal rotation. Everything was normal. Except Daniel's truck was empty. I walked around the base. No blood, no body, no sign anything had happened. The handprints were gone, just clean white paint. My phone read 7 a.m., February 19th, 24 hours since I'd started the climb, or 16 hours, or no time at all. I didn't know anymore. Voicemail was full. Text from Maria, from Mom's nurse, from dispatch, all asking where we were. No text from Daniel, no missed calls. Like our radio conversation had never happened. I called 911. I need to report a death. Rio Hondo wind farm. My brother, he fell. They found Daniel's body at the base of Turbine 52, a quarter-mile away from where I'd seen him fall. A quarter-mile from where I'd watched him die from 300 feet up through a camera lens on a phone that couldn't decide what time it was. His injuries were consistent with a 300-foot drop, massive head trauma, multiple fractures, crushed pelvis, shattered ribs, internal organs ruptured from the sudden deceleration, terminal velocity damage, the kind of damage that doesn't leave room for hope or miracles or what-ifs, just physics, just gravity doing what gravity does to a human body that falls far enough. But there was no way he'd climbed 52. His tools were still in his truck at 47. His harness was unclipped, hanging on the driver's door where he always put it before walking between towers. His work phone showed his last GPS ping at 45, where he'd been doing the sensor check. Nothing in his activity log showed him anywhere near 52. No climb recorded. No access door opened. No harness clip engaged. The investigators didn't know what to do with that. So they did what investigators always do when the evidence doesn't match reality. They built a story that fit. The official version: Daniel had been walking between towers. A maintenance hatch cover from the nacelle of 52, improperly secured during a previous repair, came loose in the wind. Fell 300 feet, struck him. Impact threw him backward into the tower base. Blunt force trauma. Dead before he hit the ground. Equipment failure. Improper maintenance. Accidental death. Nobody's fault, really. Just one of those things that happens in high-risk industrial environments. A line item in an annual safety report, a number in a spreadsheet. The company paid out the life insurance, $200,000, enough to cover Mom's remaining treatments and leave Maria with something to start over on. They closed the investigation. Fired the last tech who'd worked on 52, pinned the improperly secured hatch on him. Settled with Maria out of court for an additional $75,000 on the condition she didn't talk to the press. New safety protocols, revised maintenance checklists, a memo to all staff about proper hatch securing procedures. Case closed. I didn't tell them what really happened. Wouldn't have mattered. They'd have said shock, trauma, grief, that I'd imagined it all, that time doesn't jump forward, that ladders don't disappear, that things don't move between towers like space is just a suggestion. I quit the next day. Couldn't look at the turbines. Couldn't hear the blades without hearing Daniel scream. Couldn't see the red lights without seeing him fall, over and over, in a loop that played behind my eyes every time I blinked. Maria took the kids to California. Her parents helped with childcare, with the bills, with everything Daniel and I had been doing together. She didn't ask me to explain what happened. I think she knew I couldn't, or wouldn't, or that the truth would sound like the ravings of a man who'd watched his brother die and lost his mind on a 300-foot tower in the middle of nowhere. Mom died 6 weeks later. Lung failure. We'd been paying for treatments to buy her months, maybe a year. Daniel's death took the fight out of her. She just stopped eating, stopped doing the exercises the physical therapist gave her, stopped taking the medications that cost more than rent. She looked at me one afternoon in the hospice and told me she was tired of making us work ourselves to death to keep her alive. I told her that wasn't how it worked. She told me it was exactly how it worked, and Daniel was proof. I didn't have an answer for that. The funeral was small. Maria came with the kids. Emma cried. She was 7 and she'd lost her father and her grandmother in 6 weeks, and she understood enough of what that meant to know her world had gotten smaller. Jake was 4. He didn't understand why Daddy wasn't there, why Uncle Ray looked so tired, why Grandma was in a box and people were sad. I stood there looking at Mom's casket and all I could think about was Daniel, about falling, about climbing through infinite towers trying to find the way down while the thing between the columns watched and waited and collected. I left Texas the next week, drove north with everything I owned, through Oklahoma, through Kansas, through endless plains where turbines dotted the landscape like white teeth. I drove at night to avoid seeing them, took back roads, anything to not see the blinking red lights. Made it to Seattle, as far from South Texas as geography allowed, mountains and trees and ocean, got a job doing IT for a tech company, indoor work. 32nd floor, but somehow that height was different. The building didn't sway, didn't grind, didn't pulse. I rented a 3rd-floor apartment in Fremont, quiet neighborhood, small balcony. For the first month, I couldn't step onto it. Even 3 floors was too exposed. But eventually I started sitting out there in the evenings, beer, watching the neighborhood, normal people living normal lives, walking dogs, pushing strollers. A couple across the street who argued about their garden every Saturday morning and then spent the afternoon working on it together like nothing had happened. A kid on the corner who practiced skateboard tricks until dark, falling and getting up and falling again with the kind of patience that only exists when you're 12 and the worst thing that's ever happened to you is a skinned knee. Normal things, ordinary things, the kind of things Daniel should have been watching Emma and Jake do for another 50 years. The nightmares started to fade. At first they came every night, Daniel falling, me climbing, infinite ladders stretching in impossible directions. The thing between the towers stepping closer in my peripheral vision. But after 6 weeks, the nightmares came twice a week, then once, then barely at all. By week 10, I felt almost human again. I'd sit on my balcony with a cold beer and think about Daniel without my chest tightening, think about Mom without wanting to cry. Just think, just remember, just sit with it the way you're supposed to sit with grief, letting it be there without letting it swallow you. I thought I'd made it, thought distance would save me. Then came May 11th, 3 months and 3 weeks after Daniel died. I woke up, made coffee, walked to my living room window. On the eastern edge of Seattle, beyond the residential sprawl, beyond the industrial district, beyond where the tree line should start and the Cascade foothills should rise, there were turbines. Hundreds of them, white towers with 3 blades, red lights blinking in the gray morning light, stretching across what should have been forest in neat rows that looked industrial and unnatural and impossible. I stood there, coffee cup halfway to my mouth, frozen. They hadn't been there yesterday. I knew Seattle's skyline, had studied it from my window every morning for 12 weeks. I knew where the cranes were from the new development on Capitol Hill. I knew where the cell towers stood near the industrial district. I knew what belonged and what didn't, and hundreds of wind turbines on the eastern horizon absolutely, categorically did not belong. But I could see them clearly, count them, track their rows, see the blades turning slowly in the morning wind, see the red lights blinking at different intervals, creating that same chaotic strobe I used to see from every window at the Rio Hondo farm, the same pattern, the same rhythm. I set down my coffee, grabbed my phone, searched Seattle wind farm construction. Nothing recent, nothing planned, nothing visible from Fremont or anywhere else in the city. I called the building manager. "This is Ray in 3C. You see anything east of the city? Wind turbines?" Long pause. Mr. Dunlap, there's no wind farm out there. Maybe you're seeing the cell towers? These have 3 blades, red lights. I don't see anything like that. Another pause. Are you feeling all right? I hung up, left the apartment, walked east for 30 minutes through neighborhoods that looked completely normal. Coffee shops, bookstores, people walking to work with earbuds in and eyes on their phones. No construction, no equipment, no turbines. Reached the area where they should have been. Nothing, just trees, just houses. A woman walking her golden retriever, a mail carrier sorting packages. The morning going on around me like nothing was wrong with the world. I walked back, looked out the window, still there, still turning. I closed the curtains, sat on my couch in the dark, tried to convince myself I was seeing things. Stress, trauma, PTSD. My therapist had warned me about intrusive images. Opened the curtains that evening to prove they weren't real. They were closer. Not a mile away anymore. Maybe half a mile. More visible, more detailed. I could make out individual numbers painted on the nacelles. Could see the blades' exact angles. Could count the platforms. And they were all facing my building. I left. Moved to a hotel near the airport. No eastern-facing windows. Stayed a week. Then saw them from the bathroom window. Different ones. Different direction. Same red lights. Same slow turning. I moved again and again. Each time within a week they appeared. Different distances. Different directions. But always there. Always turning. Always watching with red lights that blinked out of sync until I looked away, then blinked perfectly together when I looked back. I stopped running. What was the point? They followed, or I never left. Or I was still climbing, still looking for the right ladder, and all of this was just another platform in a tower I'd never escape. Maria called last month. Emma was having nightmares, waking up screaming. Where does she see him? In a field of big white towers. Maria's voice was shaking. She says he's waving at her, wants her to come climb. My blood went cold. Don't let her near wind farms. Don't let either of the kids near them. Ray, there aren't any wind farms near us. We're in Sacramento. I don't care what you see. Don't let them near the towers. You're scaring me. Good. Be scared. Don't let them climb. She promised, but I heard the doubt in her voice, the worry that grief had broken me. Maybe it had. Maybe the towers aren't real. Maybe I imagined everything that happened inside 47 and created a delusion to cope with watching my brother die. But I don't think so, because I can see them now. From my current apartment window, 3 blocks away, hundreds of turbines where there should be office buildings. And every night, the red lights blink in sync, all of them, perfect rhythm. On, off, on, off. Watching, waiting. My name is Ray Dunlap. I worked the Rio Hondo wind farm for 2 years. My brother Daniel died there on February 19th, 2018. Officially, he fell. Accidental death, equipment failure. But I was there. I was 300 feet up, watching him climb, listening to him scream, seeing him fall from a place he couldn't have been. And I think I'm still there. I think I never found the right ladder, never found the way down. I think I'm still climbing through infinite versions of that tower, looking for the one that leads to real ground. And everything since, Seattle, the apartments, the jobs, the beer on my balcony, all of it is just another platform, another false exit. The turbines follow me because I never left them. Daniel fell because he climbed into a space that doesn't follow our rules, a space where height means something different, where distance folds, where time slips and stutters and stops. And somewhere in that space there's something tall, something that moves between the towers like they're doorways, something that understands vertical space better than we do, something that's been collecting us. All the techs who died, all the falls that didn't make sense, We're not gone. We're just climbing, forever climbing. Looking for the way down in a tower that rearranges itself every time we think we've found it. The lights are blinking faster now. Strobe effect, making the room spin. I should close the curtains, but I can't. Because I need to see if this time is different, if this ladder leads somewhere real. On, off, on, off. And in that rhythm, I can almost hear it. The grinding, the groaning, the sound of metal on metal that means the tower is opening again. Another hatch, another choice, another ladder, another chance to find the way down, or another level in a climb that never ends. Well, boys and ghouls, that wraps up another terrorific tale from the vault. Oh, poor Ray and Daniel, two brothers working double shifts to pay for Mom's cancer treatments, climbing towers in the middle of nowhere because insurance doesn't cover the good drugs. All they had to do was fix one little light, climb up at 2 p.m., swap a bulb, climb down. Except Ray looked at his watch halfway through and suddenly it's 6:30 and the sun's setting and the ladder he climbed up, gone. Just fucking gone. And his brother falls from inside a tower, inside where you're supposed to be safe. That's not a workplace accident. That's geometry having a nervous breakdown. And those 3,000 turbines watching with their little red eyes, they're not generating power, kiddies. They're generating nightmares. Just how we fucking love it. If this story gave you vertigo in all the right ways, hit that subscribe button. New creature features drop every day at 8 p.m. Central, and trust me, there are more maintenance logs where that came from. More towers that don't follow the rules. More things that live in vertical spaces and collect people like trading cards. Leave a like if you're checking your watch twice before you trust what time it is, and drop a comment. You ever lose time somewhere you shouldn't? Looked at the clock and suddenly hours just vanished? I'm always hunting for the next nightmare. Until next time, kiddies, keep your feet on the ground and your eyes on the exits. This has been your late night creature feature. I'm Mr. Wendigo. And hey, at least Daniel doesn't have to worry about making next month's insurance payment. Can't bill a corpse. See? There's always a bright side. Always a bright side. Sweet dreams, kiddies. Sweet dreams.